How's it going, everyone? In today's video, I wanted to talk about exposure bracketing, what it is and why you should do it. Basically, exposure bracketing is taking one photo that's perfectly exposed, one photo that's a stop or two overexposed, and a photo that's a stop or two underexposed. And then you bring that into Lightroom or whatever editing software you're using, and you stack those photos together, merge them, and you get an HDR photo. Now, some cameras can do this in camera. There's special HDR modes, bracketed modes that'll actually fire off 3 or 4 or 5 photos, however many you set it to, and they'll have those photos inside the camera so you can blend them together later. And the reason why you would want to do this is you want to get a photo that has the most dynamic range possible. So you want the most detail in your highlights and the most detail in your shadows. So when you're editing, you have no lost information there. You can get a really powerful, clean looking image by doing this. Generally, I will exposure bracket because it also comes down to insurance. Because if you get to a scene and you're not sure 100% if you got it correct in camera and you want to make sure that this photo comes out looking perfect, it's just insurance against that. Because if you have multiple exposures, you can blend them all together and get a photo that looks clean and crisp, and you don't have to worry about the branches getting lost to the sky or the dark parts of your image just completely fading to pure black. Because for me personally, there's been times in the past where I haven't taken the time to really look at my camera and make sure I had it perfect in camera, which is my fault 100%. But now I'll make sure that I have it right in camera, and I'll take a couple extra shots just for insurance reasons, or personal peace of mind. So how do you exactly do a bracketed exposure? Well, there's a couple of things to keep in mind, but basically you watch that exposure compensation dial on your camera. So you want to get that a stop or two above overexposed and a stop or two below overexposed, and one shot that's perfectly exposed. Now, to do this, you want to use your shutter speed. You don't want to use your ISO, and you don't want to use your aperture. The reason why I say don't use your ISO is because it can actually mess with the color balance of your image. And if you start messing with that ISO, you'll get some weird colors when you finally merge them together. Now, the reason why you don't want to do it with aperture is because you have a thing called focus breathing. So if you raise or lower your aperture, the image is actually going to shift a little bit because the lens is adjusting and shifting focus. And when you merge those photos together, you'll get this weird warping kind of artifacty mess, and it's a little bit harder to do. Now, you can focus stack and exposure blend, but you got to make sure that it's completely equal. The settings are perfect for each photo. It's a lot harder to do it that way. So generally, when you're doing a bracketed exposure, just use your shutter speed. Go up or down on the shutter speed to change the stops of light coming into your camera. Now, the main things are: set your lens to whatever millimeter you're going to use, whatever focus length you're going to use, and leave it at that. Keep your camera on a tripod and use a timer, so a 2-second timer, 10-second timer. That way you're mitigating how much shake you have in the camera, so the composition doesn't change or shift slightly between bracketed shots. So another thing you got to watch out for is if your scene has moving subjects. So once you stack those photos on top of each other and you have a moving subject, you might get something that's called ghosting, where it kind of looks like an object's kind of faded out a little bit, or it's kind of merged into the photo and it just kind of looks messy. That can be a moving car, branches moving in the wind. You just got to keep an eye out for that. Now, most editing software is easy to merge these photos. So generally how I do it is I take one overexposed, one regular exposed, and one underexposed photo. And I'll just highlight the 3 and I'll right click, and Lightroom has an option just to merge the photos as an HDR, and it's as simple as that, and it's done. Most editing software has this feature. It's been around forever, so you shouldn't have an issue with that if you're using anything outside of Lightroom. So yeah, that's just my quick tutorial of the day. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope it helps you out. And if it does, subscribe. I'd love to see you guys back here hanging out in another video. All right, I think that's it. You guys have a good one. Peace.